Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and we're going to be showing off some Game Boy Advance and some Game Boy Color games that we got this month. Now, the reason I'm separating this video from the normal pickups haul video that I do monthly is because I got a decent amount of games this month, and I feel like it's going to be way too long if I put everything in one video, so I figured I'd separate this from the regular pickups haul video, which is going to be a little bit shorter since there's not nearly as much as I got for GBA and Game Boy Color. I kind of got pretty interested in playing GBA and GBC games a lot this month. I don't know what it was. A lot of times I'll have my current gen phase where I'm only playing current gen for a while, and then I'll have my retro game phase where I'm just playing retro for some time and don't really play a lot of current gen. So I might be in my little bit of my era again where I'm playing some of the retro stuff because I've been playing a lot of Game Boy and Game Boy Color over the Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color over the past few weeks. So we're going to show off some things that we got here for the Game Boy Color stuff, and without further ado, let's just show it off. So these first ones were some games that were kind of sitting around in my store that a customer dropped off that he simply just didn't want anymore, and they weren't specific games that we took in, so we had them in the store for a pretty decent amount of time until I decided that it was okay for me to take them home, or my manager decided that it was okay for me to just take them since we didn't sell them and they were just going to go in the trash anyway. So I picked up a few of them, one of them being Lego Star Wars for the GBA, which is a game I grew up with and one that I never beat as a kid. So finally going to play this game and beating it was really cool to me because I just never got a chance to when I was a kid. I was stuck on one of the parts in episode 3 where you had to get one of the force fields down with some of the buttons. It was some weird puzzle that I could never figure out, and even now I wasn't able to figure out the puzzle, so I had to look it up on YouTube to see what happened, and it turns out it was super simple, and I probably could have figured it out if I sat there long enough, but I seriously was just getting frustrated, so I figured I'd look it up on YouTube. So this is the only one of the ones I'm about to show that I've played so far in terms of in this segment of the video. These are the 5 that I got from GameStop that we were about to throw out, but I ended up taking home. So this is the one that I played out of all of them, and I finished this one pretty much in like 2 sittings because it was a pretty easy game. It's a pretty interesting style, and I really did have a lot of fun playing through it again after all those years, because realistically I don't think I've played it since I was like maybe 7 years old. So next up, we got Battleship, which also comes with Risk and Clue. I played Risk with one of my friends at a Guitar Hero meetup a while back and ended up loving it. I'm not sure how it's going to play on the GBA, and I'm not exactly sure how you would even play this one, considering that I believe this is a game that's supposed to be played with multiple people. Maybe we play with computers, I have no idea. But it's got Battleship and Clue on there, so eventually we're going to give that one a shot as well. We got Hot Wheels Stunt Track Challenge, which I've never played before, don't even know what to expect going into the game. I probably know what to expect, but honestly, I'm not really sure what this game is going to be like. Looks pretty cool, and it's probably something I'm going to give a shot at some point. Next up, we got Justice League Chronicles, which once again is another game that I'm not exactly sure what to expect from, since don't really know much about some of these older GBA games, since I didn't actually have that many GBA games growing up. I mainly played the Pokemon games and some SpongeBob and some Star Wars, so this is something interesting that might interest me at some point down the line, but for right now it's just going to be kind of sitting in my collection, and we'll see exactly what I'm going to do with it. Lastly, from that little 5 game that we're about to throw out that I ended up taking home, we got Pinball Tycoon right here. Once again, another game that I know pretty much nothing about, but definitely one that I'm going to give a shot at some point, since I am really playing a lot of GBA and Game Boy Color for the past few weeks. So alright, let's look at some of the next games that I got. So the next segment here are some games I picked up randomly from Cybertron, 5 of them to be exact, all Game Boy Advance games, so we're just going to show this right here. Since I wanted to play Lego Star Wars, the first one, I also played the second one as a kid, and I beat that one plenty of times when I was a kid, but after playing the first one, it made me want to go back and play the second one, and since I didn't have the second one, I decided to go to Cybertron in, I think it was Winter Park. Yeah, I went to the Winter Park location first and picked up a few games, so one of them being Lego Star Wars 2, which actually had the box with it. So, funny enough, I showed up to the store, I ended up buying the box copy, and there was no game in it, so I did have to turn around and actually get the loose cartridge from them, which was fine because they didn't charge me for it, obviously, because it was just a little mistake. Mistakes happen. I do it at GameStop all the time where I forget to put games in the case. So, yeah, I ended up picking up this game, and I ended up playing through it in pretty much one sitting. It was a very, very easy game. I don't remember it being that easy, but I guess it was. It really posed no challenge, unless you were trying to go for all of the collectibles in the game and try to get all the studs. I feel like that's really where the challenge was, because I felt like enemies were just coming at you left and right, and it was very hard to keep yourself alive, and you can't regain all of your studs once you lose some of them, and it starts to make you kind of get stuck there. So I didn't get all the studs in all the levels, but I did beat the game and play through the main story and had a lot of fun with it, to be exact. So Next up, we got another game from Cybertron that was a game from my childhood, and that one was SpongeBob SquarePants the movie. This one I never beat as a kid either. This was one that I had a lot of trouble with, but I ended up beating it recently. I beat it in pretty much 2 sittings. I played it at night after I got the game, and then I pretty much, in the morning, spent a few hours on it, and honestly, this is a pretty challenging game. I didn't play it on hard. I played it on medium because hard was going to be pretty difficult for me, but easy was way too easy because you don't die by getting hit by any of the enemies, except for one of the bosses, which I think was Bigger Boot or something like that. But other than that, it was a pretty easy game if you were to play on easy, so I decided to turn the difficulty up to medium, which I really haven't been doing with a lot of games lately. I usually play a lot of my games on the lowest difficulty since I don't have as much time to play, and I don't want to sit there getting frustrated for hours and have it leave a bad taste in my mouth and then make me not want to play games. So, played it on medium this time, though. It was a fun playthrough. It was very frustrating to get through it, but I eventually figured it out and was able to beat it. So, very, very cool game. I definitely recommend it if you're into the SpongeBob games and really like playing games on the Game Boy Advance as well that pose a challenge but also are pretty fun at the same time. So speaking of SpongeBob, I also got Battle for Bikini Bottom, which I never played on the GBA, but if you guys have seen some of my pickups haul, I picked up this game a few times on the GameCube or the PS2, I believe, the original Xbox. I even played Rehydrated on pretty much every console, so I love the original Battle for Bikini Bottom. I never played the GBA version, though, so this is something I'm probably going to play soon since I really did like SpongeBob the movie, and I'm pretty sure this came out before SpongeBob the movie as well, so this is pretty much going to be a prequel to that style of the game, so pretty interested to see what it shows since I never got to play this game as a kid since I didn't know it existed when I was younger. Next up, we got some Star Wars games, which this is pretty much the last part of this segment. We got some Star Wars game from Cybertron. Same location, Winter Park. This one, for the Star Wars games, we got the New Droid Army, which is kind of like a top-down kind of game, which I played a little bit of so far, but I haven't gotten far. It's one of those games that you need to put in a password, unfortunately, to progress, because I don't believe it has a save feature. But it was pretty cool from what I was playing so far. I just was kind of playing it very last minute and wasn't aware of what the game was going to be like. But from what I did play, it does seem pretty cool, and it's probably something I'm going to pick up and play more. Another Star Wars game we got was Flight of the Falcon, which I don't know what to expect because I haven't even popped this into my GBA yet, but something I love about these Star Wars games is they seem to be very different from each other. They're not all just in the same style. I mean, you got your Lego Star Wars games, you got the New Droid Army, you got this one right here, which I'm almost positive is going to be a probably original trilogy kind of game since it says Flight of the Falcon, but I could be wrong. I could be being completely entirely wrong, but still excited to get into regardless. And then the last of the Star Wars games I got, which I also, actually, I did try this one. This one was Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, which I actually hated. I tried playing this game, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I had a lot of time into it and just really didn't enjoy playing it, which is funny because I enjoyed Episode 3 on the DS. There is a GBA version of Episode 3 as well, but I figured I'd pick up Episode 2 to see what it was all about, and it was one of those side-scroller games. It was a little challenging for me, and honestly, it just wasn't for me, so I'll probably eventually go back and try to beat this game, maybe try to get a little better at it, but for now, I'm just going to put this game to the side and kind of just keep it in my collection. So this is going to be the second to last segment here, but this one is going to be dedicated to some of the Pokemon games that I picked up, so I'm very happy to say I finally completed my collection of the main series Pokemon games. So being the ones on Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, original Game Boy, DS, 3DS, Switch, you name it. I have every single main series Pokemon game. So not talking about the side projects like Gale of Darkness, not talking to like Pokemon Box and stuff like that, but main series like Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, games along those lines. So some of the games I got at GameStop, some of the games I got at Cybertron, but I checked them all and they were all authentic, so I did spend a little bit of a premium to do it, but I kept coming across them and I figured it would be a good time to finally do it since I haven't really bought a lot of games lately, and this would be kind of cool. I figured it'd be kind of cool for me to finally finish off my Pokemon collection. So when I go back and visit New York, I'm going to bring all these cartridges with me. I'm going to leave them in my little DS display cabinet there. And if I want to play any Pokemon games, I can play it on emulator on my phone and eventually transfer the save file onto the actual cartridges through my Retron 5. So the games I finally ended up picking up were some pretty big ones. I got Pokemon Crystal, which I've been playing through on my Mod Retro Chromatic. We've got Pokemon Leaf Green. We've got Pokemon Fire Red, we've got Pokemon Yellow, and we've got Pokemon Blue. And on a little bit of a side game that I picked up, I decided to get Ruby and Sapphire Pokemon Pinball. So this was one that my coworker was actually talking about, and I figured I would just kind of pick it up on the side since it was one that she got me pretty interested in. Plus, I love the Pokemon Pinball game on the Game Boy, so I figured this would be something cool to pick up as well. So yeah, that actually concludes my entire Pokemon physical collection. I've mentioned in a few videos in the past, I had all the Pokemon games as a kid, but I sold a lot of them to get some Guitar Hero stuff. So I regretted that. I especially regret that now because the games were so much cheaper when I got them back in the day. I got them all for Christmas one year, and I believe my parents probably spent under $100 to do so because all they did was just get them online, and they were all real cartridges as well, by the way. I brought them to a retro game store to verify, and they were all real, so absolutely insane that I was able to get them for that cheap back then, and very upsetting that I ended up selling them when I was pretty young because getting these games, again, which has been like a 3-year, 4-year process, by the way, has been pretty expensive to do so. So definitely something I've been kicking myself for over the past few years. But nonetheless, we're finally done. We finally got all the games, all of them authentic. The only thing next to do would really to be getting the boxes for all of them, which I'm not really sure if I'm ever going to do. But regardless, I have all the games in my collection, and I'm finally happy to have done so. So the last thing I'm going to show off that I also ended up getting from GameStop is, funny enough, the Game Boy Advance SP Red Edition. So I had a Game Boy Advance growing up, a black one, which I also sold. I also had a Game Boy Color, which I sold, and an original Game Boy, which I sold. But I still have my regular Game Boy Advance, but I wanted one with the backlight, so I figured I would pick this up at GameStop since I only got it for $65 with my discount. So I've been playing most of my games on this, and then the other games, which I'm going to give a shout out to Mod Retro a little bit. I've been playing my games on this thing called the Mod Retro Chromatic, which plays all Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, and even has its own games that are releasing on it. So like modern games that are releasing on this thing that are in the style of retro. So I love this thing so far. The only thing that's annoying about it is it does take 3 AA batteries, and if you like that, I mean, I guess this is for you, but I really do hope that they release the rechargeable pack for this thing soon, because they said they were going to release it soon, and I'm hoping that they do so because I've had to change my batteries on this thing quite a few times. But this is what I've been playing a lot of my Game Boy Color and Game Boy games on instead of my regular Game Boy and my Game Boy Color that I have here. So this thing is really cool. I highly recommend it. It's about $200 through GameStop. This is the GameStop edition, I believe. But there are multiple different versions of the Mod Retro that you can get at retailers that all do the same thing for the same price. This just happens to be the one that I got from GameStop. So absolutely loving this thing a lot. I do recommend it if you're a big retro guy, especially if you're playing Game Boy and Game Boy Colors. So that's everything, guys. That's really, I guess that actually ended up being my last segment. I kind of combined the last 2 segments together since I felt like I was kind of on a roll here, not rolling too many of my words and making too many things together. Who knows? Maybe I'll screw up this take and have to record all the way from the beginning. But hey, I guess we're at the end of the video here, so that means that I didn't screw up the take. So thank you guys for watching so much. I actually ran into somebody that recognized me from YouTube, which was kind of cool the other day while I was at GameStop. So glad that this channel is still going strong. I'm still going to upload videos, and more videos are definitely here to come pretty soon. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.